Okay, guys, so why don't we first start with some introductions so that we're staying as much on time as possible. So Marc King, you want to start out and give us a little introduction?
Sure. Hi, my name is Marc, and I'm the Director of Growth for Keller Williams International, and that's it.
Perfect, short, sweet, to the point. Perfect sales pitch right there.
Yep.
All right, Chris, why don't you introduce yourself next?
Yeah, my name's Chris Stevens. I am the GM and co-owner of Keller Williams Philadelphia, also a MAPS coach, and have a mega team, Philadelphia Signature Properties as well.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us today. Miss Julia, who's just right down the hall from me right now, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Good morning. I'm Julia Lashay. I am the Director of Training and Coaching here at the Keller Williams Central 75 Market Center. I also have a team in Minneapolis, the Signature Group, and I am the Regional Ambassador for the Social Equity Task Force for the North Texas, New Mexico, Memphis region.
Say that 3 times fast.
I know, right? I was trying
Good stuff.
What is like all the letters? It's like when we try to like, yeah, it's a mouthful for sure. And last but not least, John, why don't you tell everybody about yourself?
Good morning, John Clidy. I want to be simple like you, Marc, and just say one title, but I don't want to forget anybody.
I'm simple.
Regional Director of the Greater PA Region, mega agent, OP, and a family guy, and love this company.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Family guy. Perfect. Well, guys, thank you again so much for joining us today. We still have more and more people logging in, but on that note, I want to jump right into these questions. But I'm going to ask everybody first, if you have questions as we are going through this mastermind, please feel free to use the chat bar. Lindsay's going to be monitoring the questions that come in. In the last 15 minutes of this mastermind, we're going to also just encourage you guys, if there's anything that we haven't covered up to that time, just please let us know. We want to make sure that we answer any and all questions that you have. So let's start out. Marc, I'm going to start out with you. So we just finished up Mega Camp, which was absolutely phenomenal. I still can't believe how Keller Williams was able to do that. You know, we thought that it was going to be a virtual platform, but it was so much more than that. But we were able to hear representatives from Google and Facebook discuss how Keller Williams is at the forefront of real estate technology with Command. How have these business relationships with large tech companies impacted KW's overall growth? And where do you see these relationships going in the future?
Those are great questions. And Mega Camp was amazing. I would say, I would put it this way. It's really cool to have business partnerships, and you can pay for those, right? Any of us can go to Google and Facebook and we can pay them enough money for them to do things with us. What's unique about what Gary and Josh did is 4.5 years ago, they had this vision of integrating code. What does that mean? That's cyber talk for how do we actually build code with Facebook engineers such that when we go to a Facebook Lead Accelerator platform, we can actually know the algorithms going in. So anybody can advertise on Facebook. How cool is it that we're using Facebook engineers to help us with those algorithms? So that's really cool. If you saw the interviews with Josh and heard the story, here's the biggest difference is I would make it very simple. And that is every real estate company on the planet says they have technology. And the difference is Google and Facebook tell everyone that Keller Williams has technology. So when it could be us saying it, it could be us talking about how amazing we are and how amazing our technology is. But when it's Google and Facebook saying it, that's a whole different story. So where does this go in the future? I think, here's how I think of this. So iPhone, right? You're all iPhone users, right? Because you're not from the 90s, like Rebecca is, right? So just that's an Android joke. So here's the difference. If you look at what, like everyone pull out your Microsoft phone right now. We have a Microsoft phone? No one has one? So the reason that matters is that there's a couple players in the hardware phone space. Every other technology company on the planet has been relegated to creating an app for this piece of hardware. Well, how did Apple do that? They got in first, they got in biggest, they had the best open code source. They did exactly what Keller Williams is doing for the real estate industry. So what you see happening right now is all of the real estate vendors, because of our size and scale, we couldn't do this if we had 30,000 agents. We couldn't do this if we had 60,000 agents. Because we have 180,000 agents worldwide, we can create the iPhone of the real estate industry, and every other technology company in the industry is now relegated to, if they want to play in our pool, to build technology for our iPhone. So does that analogy hold? Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Now, how do we continue to stay at the forefront of it? Because we know that our competitors are very quickly trying to catch up to us. And so at what point do you see in the future us being able to continue to take those steps so that we're always 2 steps, 3 steps ahead?
Yeah, this is the challenge. This is the race that we're in. And back in March, it's very interesting because we have this leadership playbook that we go by in Keller Williams. And the very first step, when COVID hit, Josh and Gary called, I'm going to call it an emergency meeting, and said, we have got to do some things right now. We've got to cut our budget. We have to prepare for the worst and pray for the best. We're committed to not laying off anyone. We're the only national real estate company that didn't lay off a human being during COVID, which is a huge badge of honor as far as I'm concerned, because we care about our people first. We're not governed by Wall Street. So one of the first things that we did is we cut our budget. I believe the number's up to 40%. And where did that budget come? By the way, as Gary said the other day when we were talking about this, no one noticed. So we cut our budget by 40%. No one noticed. And this is a great lesson for real estate agents and offices and all of us. What could we cut out of our budget that no one would notice? Because we did it at the largest national real estate company in the world, and no one noticed. So we cut 40% out of our budget. Well, where did that money come from? Because we own and control and develop our own technology, it's very easy to move in and out of independent contractor agreements and development agreements, that sort of thing. The challenge is, with the craziness that is Wall Street, right? The craziness that is valuations is there are companies, there are players in our industries that have 10 and $20 billion valuations. Zillow comes to mind, for example, right? So when you're competing with those kind of dollars, it's a challenge when you're privately owned. So how do we stay on the forefront? The way we stay on the forefront is where we started 4.5 years ago. This isn't how the industry was thinking when everyone called Gary crazy. So as long as our agents continue to understand this concept and we adopt, and we're not slowing down in terms of growth. Gary's committed up to $1 billion for our tech spend, which is plenty. It's plenty. We can do all the things we need to do. I think that the race now is for the consumer. And the way that we've always built in Keller Williams is around the agent. Our just cause is to keep the agent at the center of the transaction. And so the way we go to the consumer is through the agent. So the app adoption is going to be majorly important for us. So the way that we win, if there is a winning, I don't know that there is winning and losing in the infinite game, but the way that we get ahead, stay ahead, is as long as our agents adopt the technology and get it to the consumers.
Yeah, love that. I want to take what you were just mentioning with the leadership playbook and take a question over to Christopher. I'm going to call him like his mom does, Christopher.
Only when I was in trouble.
Only when you're in trouble. And then John, I want you to unmute yourself too, because I want you to weigh in this as well, since you are both, leaders of your market centers. So as team leaders, we're constantly trying to add value, right? Value is the number one thing that we always want to make sure our agents are feeling day to day. So over the last few months, Gary, as Marc mentioned, began talking about the need for Keller Williams market centers to shift into a 3-model system that would be designed for dependent, interdependent, and independent agents. Have you both begun to structure these models at your market center? And how do you think the KW associates will benefit from these changes? Oh, I love that Marc's like holding it up right now. He's like, here's the visual.
Screen share for old people like me.
It's not like we ever talk about this like every day as leaders. So let's let everybody know what this thought process is. So Chris, why don't you start?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. It's something that we've been talking about for about 2.5 years now, well before, Gary came out with the dependent, independent, interdependent models. And I'll go back about 2.5 years ago when Compass came to Philadelphia. And we realized really quickly that we needed to improve our value proposition. And where, Compass was offering a marketing platform. They praised their technology. 2.5 years ago, Command was in its infancy and starting to build up and get momentum. And so, my partner and I looked at each other and said, there's got to be a better way. We have to improve And the first thing that we came up with was, what would it look like having a marketing brand inside of our market center to service our agents that they could tap into and have for free or at a discount? And then what would it look like to have inside our market center a transaction management company as well, right? That agents could tap into that would be at a discount. And then going even further, what would it look like to have a media platform with photography, videography, Matterport drone, and now virtual inside our market center that our agents could tap into and utilize. And, thank God that, knock on wood, that we saw that about two years ago and kind of built on it to now where we are right now, where we're utilizing those services at a high level right now. And I know just feedback from our agents, they're really, really happy that they're able to tap into that, save some dollars, but also have those services at a high level and be able to compete with the Compasses of the world. So I think it's really important to talk about, because you have to ask yourself, what is your value proposition right now inside your market center, and what are your agents able to tap into and utilize?
Yeah, and so for my agents that are tuned into this right now, you've heard the whispers of our Leverage Plus program. This is exactly what Chris is talking about right now. So we took that interdependent model that Gary had, and now we're unveiling it and rolling it out, and that's where you're going to be seeing us doing the design and printing at a discounted rate, the TC capability here at the Market Center. So this is just one factor of the 3-model system. And now we're looking further into the dependent model, which is our next, path that we're taking. John, have you implemented any of these models in your Market Center?
Yeah, I was thinking of a different perspective from what Chris said, just to give some value to the listeners. And for me, I came from a dependent model. I was one of the top agents there. So I knew that, we like comfort, right? We like to get things done for us, no matter how much it costs, because we don't pay attention to it. We just kind of just spend the money and make the money, and we don't pay attention. So what I've learned is that, we do need to provide a service that they could take advantage of some of the things that Chris is speaking about. However, we still want to educate that, we are a business model, right? And we teach how to run a business. If you look at the 4 quadrants, right? The self-employed and the business owner. And I think that's what attracted me to the company, was that model. However, I learned that not everybody wants to be Marc King, right? Or Chris Stevens. So we need to provide that.
Super smart.
I had to give you a little bit of plug, you guys. So providing those services is going to be an incentive for our agents, because maybe they don't maybe they don't want to be a business owner. Maybe they just want to have things done and they can just fly in their skill zone. So,
yeah.
I think that's great. And then that one day when the flash bulb goes off and you're like, oh my God, I think I'm ready to be a business owner, then you can, because we'll have the next step for you, whether it be an interdependent model or the independent model. So I think that's the beauty of this company, where wherever you are in the stage of your life or business, we're ready for you. And I think that's what Gary was really smart about, is we're not sure where their journey is at, right? I came from a dependent model and wanted the independent model. Some people might be a little bit early and say, you know what, I like the dependent model right now. It's great for me. I'm at this point in my life where I want that. So I think we're going to have to shift towards that, because it allows us the opportunity to be where we are in our life. And then we can always rise up, because we'll have all those systems in place.
Yeah, and so for anybody that's listening to this and like, what are they talking about? Dependent, interdependent. Keller Williams was always structured in the beginning as that interdependent model. Marc, give me an example of what you would describe a different brokerage as being a dependent model.
Actually, for Gary, we went through every national competitor. And here was the big aha. Every one of our competitors is squarely into one of those business models. Either they're squarely dependent, Realogy, Century 21, ERA, Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, Berkshire Hathaway, or they're squarely in the independent model, which is RE/MAX, Realty Executives, et cetera. There's not a national company that really provides services to all 3 types of agents. And really, when we talk about this, we're talking about 3 different types of agents. And I think of this more linear, Sarah, and that is, if I were going to build the perfect career path, right? One of the mistakes that I've made in my career, big mistakes, is I would talk to dependent model agents at Call Banker and say, you're wrong for thinking the way you think. You should pay a lot less money and you should hire your own admin and you'll make more money. Or if you're independent, that's wrong too, because you're not getting the services you need, right? I think what Gary's genius is in this conversation is, if you start out brand new day one, you don't know anything about a contract, you need all the help you can get. That's going to be the dependent model. You need someone to help write your contracts, help walk it to closings. There's so many things that can go wrong, as you all know. Then you work your way into the position where I think I've got this. I want to start doing more of the 187 tasks of a millionaire real estate agent. You work your way into the interdependent model. That doesn't mean that suddenly you're awesome like myself. I was the top agent at my board and I wrote 2 contracts until I figured out I've got to hire someone. This is not my genius, right? So then you still have the Market Center can provide paid for a la carte services, but still make it so valuable, have such a low cap that, you know, there's no other competitor that makes any sense financially. And by the way, if I continue to grow, I could go build my own team, put in all of my own systems and move more into the independent model, never leaving the same firm. So I think of this as a career track. And I think one of the things we tend to do at Keller, at least I'm guilty of, is we tend to want to inspire people to go big. Like, everyone should make $1 million. There's a book written about it. And so, you know, if you're not making $1 million a year, you haven't read the whole book, right? That's the kind of the concept. But here's what we've learned. There's a whole lot of people in this industry who are super happy selling 8 houses a year, and should be, right? And who am I to judge if that's what fits their lifestyle, if that's what they choose to do? And so what we're creating is a place where no one would ever want to leave. There's something for everyone.
And I love that. As a team leader, and with the conversations that I'm having with agents at all different levels, when we really started talking about this in our leadership meetings, it gave me goosebumps. And I was like, okay, this is something that I'm so excited to really unveil and explore and develop. Julia, you know, you're our, you know, one of our coaches here, and you actually run our coaching and training program. Hearing this model and how Marc's talking about it, how do you think it's going to have a positive impact on the Market Center here?
Well, I think he's exactly correct, because I love your analogy of you're wrong and you're wrong. When we recruit, we tend to, you know, really tell people why they're wrong and they should come here. But there are a number of different agents, and everybody is not at the same place. So I love the concept, because new agents, when they come in, aren't always ready to just be a millionaire real estate agent, and do need some handholding, and do need the tools, and do need the training, and do need to be really dependent on the company and the organization to help them grow their business. And then there's people on the entire other end of the spectrum. Some of those are often new as well, who I just want to be a business owner. I know how to run a business. I have had multiple businesses, and I just need the tools and resources that are going to support my $1 million real estate business. And to have that as well, it's really a one-stop shop, and it's exciting, to say the least, that we have the tools and the training and the resources to support agents at every level. And I love the concept of a career path, because that's exactly what it is. Again, some people will come in at the other side of it already, but it gives people an opportunity to grow into the millionaire real estate agent over time.
Yeah, and you know, you came into, you know, my Market Center here at KW Central in January. So you and I started at about the same time, which was fantastic, because we both looked at each other and went, okay, there's some things that we can improve on here and add more value. One of the things that you added to our Market Center in particular was accountability groups, which I absolutely loved, because outside of coaching, we all know, you know, Chris is my MAPS coach, and we've also got a 3-step coaching program here at this Market Center. But accountability groups, I think you had experiences with your other Market Center and how beneficial they were. But I think that they played a pivotal role in people's mental well-being during COVID. So can you tell me a little bit about what you've experienced with that, and how that might, you know, play into this 3-model system that we're talking about?
Yeah, for sure. So as social beings, right, as human beings, we don't tend to be accountable to ourselves. People generally have a responsibility to, or feel a sense of responsibility to, somebody else. So we can always think of a lot of reasons why we don't want to do something. So yesterday, for instance, I run in the evenings, and I go to the track at the high school, and there's coaches out there. Some of them are like professional track athletes, and when they're looking I run really well. Like I do my whole 3 miles because they're watching me and they know I'm there to do 3 miles, you know. And so I do a really good job because I don't want to let them down. Not for myself. I quit. After 1 mile, I'd be like, yeah, that's good enough, you know. But because I know they're watching and they have, you know, a minimal investment in me actually finishing, you do more. So people by nature tend to do more when there is a responsibility to someone else or someone else is holding them accountable. So an accountability group is basically, you know, a group of like-minded individuals. Maybe it'd be the 5 of us on this top line here on my screen, and we'd meet every week at a certain time to discuss our business goals. So we come prepared with the 411, because I do use a 411 on a weekly basis. We would come prepared with our 411 to meet to talk about what our goals for this week are going to be. And we talk about 3 things in these accountability groups. We talk about a big rock, which if you're familiar with the one thing, it is what's the one thing that I need to do that will make everything else easier. That's your big rock. We talk about a productivity goal, which is your money making activity. How are you going to make money this week? I'm not interested in the cute card you made or I want to know how you're making money. How many appointments are you going on? How many listings are you taking? So we talk about that. And then we talk about a personal goal. And the personal goal is more like, I strongly believe that if you're not healthy, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, you're not doing any of the stuff on this paper anyway. So what are you doing for yourself to keep yourself healthy enough to perform? So we meet once a week. Let's say today is our time. We meet on Tuesday at 9 a.m. and we go over those things, each of us, and hold each other accountable. We'll meet again next week and I might say, hey, Mark, you said you were going to recruit 5 new agents to your market center. How did that go? And he either did it or he didn't. But what I do know is that Mark doesn't want to come to the group and say he didn't do anything. He doesn't want to let us down. He doesn't want to let himself down. He doesn't want to embarrass himself. And he certainly doesn't want to embarrass himself in front of Chris and John, right? So he's going to get something done. So particularly in a pandemic, when we are, you know, find ourselves more by ourselves than ever, it was and has been tremendously useful for agents to have a group of somebody to connect with, especially when the market centers were closed, you know, and people weren't really meeting with each other. People were feeling alone.
Yeah.
And not a lot of movement. And particularly then it's easy to not do anything because you have a really good excuse to not be productive. But particularly in the pandemic, we did find that people really longed for, you know, desire. People need to be with each other and to have that kind of support. So those accountability groups played a major role in morale and people just being able to have a reason to have to get up today to do something in the middle of a pandemic. So it really makes you more likely to do it. And in a culture of accountability, it has a direct correlation to the bottom line. So, you know, having someone to be accountable to or to hold you accountable is going to make you more money. It just simply works that way. So you mentioned we did this in Minneapolis. I've been at that market center for 15 years. And we've had accountability groups for, I might venture to say, I don't know, 8 of them now, maybe a little longer. And some of the groups that I started then, like 8, 9 years ago, still meet. Those group of ladies still meet every Tuesday at 3 o'clock or every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. They have been meeting for years. And a lot of agents don't want to leave the market center. They don't want to leave real estate, not because they want to still sell real estate. They just don't want to leave their group. So
I believe it. I hear how much fun you guys have on those groups every week. And I think it's going to play a huge part. You know, if anybody on this isn't part of an accountability group right now, I think that moving into the holiday season, it's another great way because we tend to, you know, get holiday brain and shut up a little bit. And now's the time, you know, for us to really continue and move forward. There's nothing better in the world than hearing Julia on an accountability call, because when somebody doesn't have their 411 prepared, I wouldn't want to be that person.
But we do it all in love and fun.
All in love. I want to be like Julia one day. I want to take something over to John really quick. You know, Mark had mentioned earlier that some people are perfectly fine with having the 8 transactions a month, or, you know, they don't necessarily want to be a millionaire producer. Now, when you first, you know, started out, I know you wrote a book on this, but you went from having a 6-figure salary, you know, in the career world to jumping all into real estate full time. Can you tell us a little bit about that, so that if we have any part-time agents that are listening to this and are scared to kind of make that leap, I'd just love for them to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I was a New Jersey State Trooper for 17 years, and I ended up kind of converting my passion more into the real estate side. And as I was doing it, I started to, when Gary talks about the one thing, and you have the rubber balls and the glass balls. Well, those glass balls are family, right? And relationships and marriages and all that. And as you start to take all your time, I had the state police, I had the successful real estate career, I had the flipping homes and all that other stuff. Well, then something's going to drop eventually, right? There's only so much time in a day. And luckily I started to kind of see that glass ball, that family and marriage ball, that's a non-negotiable to me, right? Like those balls need to be rubber, and I gotta switch that. And I think that's what, a lot of us do. I know when I was writing a book, a lot of market centers, I would say my research was like 50 to 45% are dual career in some fashion, right? They have something going on and real estate. And, I think all of us, one day would love to have that time where we just find what we love to do and we just stay in it. Like Marc King found what he loves to do. He's in his zone. You see him every Monday and he goes, and I'm in my zone, and I love leadership and development. So, the book really is about being in that zone and that happy place, because when you're happy, you tend to, life is more fulfilling, and marriages are fulfilling, and children are happy. But when you're not, a lot of things go wrong, right? Because you can't go to work happy if you're at home unhappy, right? So I think there's a correlation between the two. And the book really is talking about that. And really it was a KW journey, going from that dependent model where it was really self-employed John Clidy, and learning that, you can only do so much, doing it all yourself. When I'm the broker, I'm the recruiter, I'm the accountant, to really staying where I'm really good and letting others come into my world that are good at those pieces. And I think, the sales business and the market center business are the same way, right? As we get, we launch a market center with maybe 3 employees, and then all of a sudden, you got 509 or 10, staff members, and it's incredible. Your teams are very similar, right? But it's, if you're happy and you're running up the play the right way, and you're starting to know your strengths and weaknesses, that's when you start to see the success. So the book really does tell that journey, which is, thanks to the Gary Kellers and the Marc Kings and all these great people out there to kind of keep you in line to stay, to stay focused and stay in the model, right?
Yeah, well, be sure to put the name of your book, in the chat bar so that everybody can see that, because I think it's really good information for everyone to have. And speaking of, leadership and the opportunities that Keller Williams gives, I want to take this over to Marc for a second. You've been the team leader, the OP, running 9 market centers. I mean, you've pretty much done everything, including MAPS coach, but now you're the director of growth for KWRI. So from your resume alone, you can see that there's many opportunities that are provided to KW agents for growth within the company. But what suggestions do you have for any agents that are listening on this call today that think that, hey, leadership may be something that, a path that I want to go down? Do you have any pointers for them?
Yeah, I love this conversation. I want to kind of go back to something John said, because, by the way, John and I are very close. I love this man. He's an amazing leader. Please read his book. It's brilliant, I think. And he didn't just leave a 6-figure salary. He was 3 years away from a pension, which most of us don't have the guts to walk away from, right? A lot of people don't know my early story, and that is I worked for Sprint, and I had a 6-figure salary. The difference is I was 26 years old. And so I wasn't leaving a pension. I wasn't leaving a body of work to get into real estate. And so I just think how amazing. I don't know if I could make that move, to be honest. So I think all credit to you, John. So here's the fascinating part of this. The easy answer, Sarah, is fail. Fail quickly, make mistakes, make them big. Don't make them so big they take you down, but make mistakes. And here's what's crazy. So I was an agent. I left this 6-figure job. I struggled mightily, almost to the point where I quit several times in real estate. Read the books, went to the masterminds, listened to others who'd gone before me, became the top agent at my board just because I was competitive, right? So if someone's selling 5 houses a month, I got to sell 6. And that turned into, you know, at the time in the early 2000s, 20 closings a month was a lot. Today, you've got teams that are doing hundreds, right? It's crazy. So, but at that time, it was #1 in my board in Kansas City. And that led to an opportunity to take over a brokerage, come to Keller Williams. And so I bought a franchise, very quickly learned I didn't know anything about leadership or hiring. So I became the team leader and worked my way up there. The short version of the story is I've had every role in this company, from director of growth to regional director to regional OP to OP of market centers to team leader. The only thing I'm not any good at, quite honestly, is the MCA role. And so I just wasn't talented enough to earn that opportunity. I transmitted one time and almost took down the whole system. So you got to make a lot of mistakes. I once opened a market center in someone else's region on accident. Like, you've got to make a bunch of mistakes. And by the way, you have to learn from those mistakes, and you have to learn fast. Here's the crazy part of this whole thing. My job today is the exact same as it was selling houses. There's a book by Cal Newport called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And in that book, he talks about the concept of career capital. And what you can't replace is 20 years of failing at every level in this organization to get that career capital, right? And when I lead masterminds of new team leaders, for example, I just smile at them because I know they've got many years of failure ahead of them before they get really good. So in this industry, whether you run it, we all have 2 jobs. One is we could be the best brain surgeon on the planet, but if you don't have any brains to operate on, you're out of business, right? So we have to lead generate. We have to build a sphere of influence, whether that be to sell houses or to build a market center, build a region, build an entire organization. So it's all the same job. You got to have people. The second thing is you got to be good at operating on the brains, right? You can't kill a bunch of your patients and then survive. So you've got to learn along the way. And I would say that for anyone, this company is a company of abundance. When anyone comes to my director of operations, the person who runs my businesses, is on the line. Her name's Rebecca. She's amazing. And what she'll tell you is that when someone comes to work for us, the first thing we tell them is you need to start developing your replacement. And it's always a fun little exercise because they look at you like, wait, what? I just started here. And the reality is, as you grow in this organization, you're going to grow up and have multiple opportunities, or you're going to grow out of the role and find a different opportunity. But it's one of those 2 paths. So the crazy thing is it's the exact same job. Almost daily, I recruit today. So I go on recruiting appointments. It's a different level now. It's independents over 100 agents, for example. In the past, I would recruit real estate agents, teams, et cetera, to a market center or to a region. And before that, I would recruit sellers to list their homes with me. So it's the same job. It's just a whole lot of experience at failing in those jobs. And that becomes more valuable to the marketplace. So the faster you go, the faster you fail, the faster you learn, the more valuable you are.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was really fun for me to step into the team leader role in January just to be faced with a pandemic. So that was just
good
talk
timing.
about, I mean, I was like, oh, if I can survive this, I can do anything.
Can I add to can I say something about what Marc has said?
Yeah.
What I heard Marc saying was opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Like you've had so many different roles, and there's so much to do. I love real estate because there are a million things that you can do in real estate, and particularly in Keller Williams, there are a lot of different opportunities and places to grow to be whatever you want to be. I've been a lot of different roles as well. I have been an MCA, Marc. I was MCA for 5 years.
Wow. You're more talented than I am. I love it.
Yeah, and so it's a lot of different opportunity. And when you were talking about the interdependent, dependent, all of that, I'm also hearing that maybe you do a KPA and you're not an awesome mega agent. There's 100 other things that you can do in this organization that you can grow at and be well at. Like, you never have to leave home, We have coached some agents out of being a real estate agent, just not good at it, and that's okay, but they are a great director of operations, or they are a great ISA, or they are a great something else. There's just so many different things that you can use your skills at in this company and be tremendously successful at.
Well, and speaking of that, Julia, it leads me into the next question I wanted to talk to you and John about, talking about opportunities within Keller Williams. you're ambassadors for the Social Equality Task Force. And I just wanted to know if you both could share a little bit about what steps Keller Williams is taking to ensure that all agents have equal, equitable opportunities. And, you know, how do you feel that KW, because Julia, you and I spoke about this a little bit, how do you think that KW has stood out in comparison to other brokerages at this point?
I think I'll let you go first because John is actually in charge. So, so I'll let John go first and answer that.
Julia, I think we're never in charge with talent like you guys around. I mean, you know, we're just support staff. And, you know, Sarah, I shared this with Gary Keller. When this all came about, you know, Gary called people that he knows, you know, Black agents that he knew from us being in a regional role, Bo, Kimber, and myself, and just asked us some questions. And it was one of the better conversations I've ever had, because it was so, number one, it was like 11 o'clock at night. Just to know, I think Marc knows Gary, when he wants something, he'll call no matter when it is. You know, it was so real, and it just gave me a sense of, man, did I make a great decision years ago to come to Keller Williams? That's the first thing. Just to know who you're in business with matters. And then when he said, you know what, I'm not an expert in this, and, you know, I'm going to let you guys give me some insight on this. And, you know, Kimber and Bo and I just sat there and we said, you know, what is this company good at? And we're good at training and consulting, right? I mean, we got some talented people. And Julia, you know, when Julia is one of the sub leaders for the National Task Force. And man, we've seen some leaders that you're like, oh my God, where the heck have they been? You know, like, where are these incredible people been that they haven't shined? Like, you know, watching Julia and watching some of these other leaders. And we have the talent here that can make a difference. And that's what we did. We created a task force with some of the best in the country that raised their hand and said, you know what, I'm passionate about this. And these are all volunteers. And what they've done is they've all put their minds together of what we need to do to be better. And what I love that we didn't do was go out and say, you know what, let's go hire a Black person. Let's just go out and put someone in a position, and they're gonna change the world for Keller Williams and for the communities that we all serve. No, that's not the case, right? So we collected a group of leaders, and we have spoken a lot, you know, via text, emails, calls on our own time. And we started to put together a plan that we can recruit, educate, coach, mentor, also work with the community, work on marketing, wealth building, all these things that eventually will evolve for all people, right? That's why we changed the equity to E for equity for everyone. And that's I think right now the house on fire is for the Black community, but next week it could be Hispanic, it could be the gay community, right? So we're preparing to help everyone, but we're using this as a platform because we think we need to do something about this now as a company, right? And I know I can go on and on because this is my passion zone, but Julie, you can maybe share a little bit about kind of what we're doing maybe at the sub level maybe.
Sure. Well, you know, one of your questions, Sarah, is you said, what has this company done differently than others?
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that own a lot of real estate companies and a lot of franchises, Remax, Coldwell Banker, you know, you name it. And I don't know, and I may be wrong, but I am not aware of any real estate company that has changed their core belief system and model to make sure that it supports everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody, any protected class, any person, that everybody can have an opportunity. I personally have never not been able to have any opportunity that I wanted to because of my skin color. That's not been an issue for me. I'm not saying it's not been an issue for other people, but in this company, I have had the opportunity to be whatever I wanted to be. I've been asked to be all kinds of things I don't want to be, you know? So, like, no, I don't want that one. But I don't know of any other company that actually changed their core belief system to make sure that it was evident not only to the agents in the organization, but to the industry and to every company about what we stand for. You know, the Y4C2Ts, and for those of you listening that don't know what that is the belief system. Most companies have some sort of values or core values, and our belief system has been the same, as far as I know, since forever. And this is the first time that it's ever been changed. And so just to have a company specifically want to make sure that everybody knows that we stand for equity and opportunities for all is major. I don't know any other company that's done that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
in that, what we do is what we do is just that we do have a 155. If you're familiar with 135, that's our business plan model. We do have one for the Social Equity Task Force that is very specific about how this company plans to go about making sure that this is the #1 real estate company for everybody, that this is the #1 training company for everybody, that everybody has those, that the path that Marc talked about, you know, whatever you want to be, anybody can be that, and everybody can feel welcome and comfortable. And that's not a common thing. There's not a lot of companies that you can walk into and sit at a table and say, I feel good here. I'm glad to know you want me here. That's not common. That's not how most companies work. Normally you walk in and you say, well, I was on a board once in Minnesota, and I walked in and I was like, first of all, the only woman, the only Black person, the only thing of color at all. And I was probably a good 30 years younger than everybody in the room. I called my OP because this was his seat. I was, I called him. I was like, I'm not staying. I'm not staying here. Totally uncomfortable. And it was very obvious they didn't want me there. They did not make any reservations about the fact that you're not actually welcome here. Like, it was very obvious. So that's unfortunately a common experience. And I'm proud to say I've not felt that. And the point of this company and the point of adding equity to the model is so that nobody has to feel like that.
Yeah.
So I have never been more proud to work for a company than I am now. When Gary Keller came and spoke to the KWBRN, the Black Realtor Network within Keller Williams, he didn't have any questions. He didn't have a script. He just came and spoke from his heart. And I have never been, at that moment, I've been here 15, 16 years now. But at that moment, I was like, wow, I'm sure glad I'm not at Remax, or Ebby or Edina or whatever, but he definitely is a leader, and implementing this task force. I am confident that it will do what it's intended to do for many, many, many years. And so I'm glad to invite anybody, no matter who they are, and no matter what race, religion, color, creed, sexual orientation, anything, I'm proud to invite them to come to this company because I know that they are welcome and that they have opportunities here.
Yeah, it's been, I saw your reaction after that conversation with Gary, and you were just genuinely, it was just a very authentic moment. It was very special, even just for me to get to, be at the beginning stages of this as a team leader and see how you guys are building this and how we really are changing the path of this company, and just starting with the belief systems. And I truly do believe that it's just the beginning. And I think with the leadership provided by John, with this task force, as well as Julia, you, as well as many others being ambassadors for it, I think it's a really great hand. So I appreciate you both very much for letting us know some more about that.
Before we're off the topic, I want to shamelessly plug my class at 1 o'clock.
Yes, do it. Another Zoom.
We do have a regional class at 1 o'clock. It's called The Color of Real Estate. I'm teaching that at 1 o'clock. So if you are free at 1, please jump on. I'll throw the link in the chat box. It's a 2-hour class. Probably won't take us that long. Probably be an hour and a half. Talk about unconscious bias, the home ownership gap, how we got here, our role as real estate agents, and 1, keeping our license, and 2, making sure that we are ensuring fair housing for everybody, and learning to, have an open mind so we can get more clients and more business. So I'll put that in the chat.
Yes, thank you, Julia.
Hey, Julia, I see a T-shirt that Gary Keller and Jay
Thank you. Equity task.
Yes, so we can, those are
at Mega Camp. Both Jay Papasan and Gary Keller were wearing this, but this is the T-shirt, and you can order that for $30.
We should put the link for that too. So we're running a little, so we got 15 minutes left. So if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat bar right now. And I'm going to ask Marc and Chris to weigh in on what they, what do you see happening? Now that we're in the 4th quarter, pretend like you have a magic ball in front of you, and you can see into the 1st quarter of 2021. Chris, why don't we start with you? What are your predictions? Considering that this is, it's a political election year. There's all-time low interest rates. There's a lot going on. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that a lot of people are asking the same question. But before I answer that, Julia, is there any way I can induce you to come to Philadelphia? I think you're amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
have great. Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm going to try
Don't
and
steal her.
My OP
Rated
is on the
theory.
call. Let's just
Kudos. You're a true leader, and I appreciate everything you're doing. So I just wanted to tell
Thank
you.
you.
Yep.
People are chatting in the chat box. Julia cannot go to Philadelphia.
I'm only kidding, but we would love to have you there for sure. So Sarah, I mean, a lot of people are asking the same question, and the one thing I can tell you is, we talked about it in the growth call yesterday in regards to forbearance, and there's a lot of people out there that have not paid their loans and are going to come due at some point in 2021. And what is that going to do for our inventory? And I think for some investors or people that have money on the sideline right now that are kind of waiting it out are going to have extreme opportunity. I do believe that, and there's, where there's misfortune, there's opportunity. And we've dealt with that during COVID, and we're going to deal with that, I believe, in 2021. So I do believe there's going to be an opportunity for some more inventory, some more opportunities as investors to buy some properties, whether you want to flip and buy and hold. And then I do think in regards to new development, I think it's a great time in 2021 for developers to come up with inventory. And we talked about that a little bit yesterday, Marc, as well, in regards to new development. I don't think new development is going anywhere for at least another year. As a matter of fact, I think there's going to be more of it, which is going to create more inventory. As you know, at least where we are, and a lot of other states are as well, is that there's a very low inventory right now. So the agents that are either creating inventory or finding new ways, expireds or withdrawals, to find new listings, I think are grabbing their fair share. But to answer your question, I think 2021 is going to be amazing. I think that there's going to be some more inventory blended into the system. And I think that people that have money on the sideline are going to have an opportunity to purchase some properties.
Awesome. Yeah, here in Texas, I swear if there's dirt, they're going to build on it. There's new developments going up all the time. I'm like, there was just, a field here. Now there's houses. So Marc, what about you? Do you have any other predictions for us?
Yeah, I'm glad Julia's class isn't until 1, because I want to talk about this until then. So there's a lot to unpack here. So let's talk about 2020 for a second. 2020 is been a crazy year, right? We can go through the list: the pandemic, the social unrest, the economy, the unemployment rate, all the stuff. In fact, it was such an interesting year that we had the most invasive species ever hit our shores in the murder hornets, and nobody's talking about them. Like the murder hornets should have been a bigger deal. I feel sad for them. But here's the thing: you don't have to choose to participate in any of that. We have proof now that if we do the right things, there's opportunity. The environment we're in, we can't control. What we can control is being visible, jumping on Zoom calls, talking to our sphere of influence, making our care calls. We can do all the things that create that fiduciary relationship from an agent to a client. And that's what we got to stay focused on. So how will 2021 turn out for the industry? I have no idea. I know it'll turn out great for all of us on this call, because we're going to do all the things that cause it to be great. In terms of the presidential election, right? I'm very smart and politically savvy about staying away from politics. And there's 52 people on this call. So there's 51 people on this call I would vote for before the 2 candidates that we have right now. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But here's the thing, because here's the thing. In my 47 years, every presidential election has promised that they were going to make major changes. They were going to do great things. They were going to change our lives. And my experience is that hasn't happened yet, right? And so I'm not going to sit around and wait for whoever gets elected to suddenly affect me. I'm going to go take life into my own hands. I'm going to do those things. So Gary's interviewed Steve Murray and Stefan Swanepoel and many industry experts about what they think. Here's some numbers I want to share with you. I was a foreclosure agent for a long time. And the thing to think about is during the 2008, 2009, 2010 Great Recession, foreclosures rose to 1.5%, almost 2%. right? That was a massive amount of homeowners who weren't paying their mortgages, got foreclosed on, and we know what happened there. Today, about double that are not paying their mortgage payments. So you just got to put this into perspective. It's in terms of people not paying their mortgage payments, it's about twice as bad as it was during the Great Recession. But here's why you're not feeling it. We're in a seller's market. You put the right house on the market in Dallas, Texas, it's going to sell in 24 hours if you price it right and do all the right things. By the way, Dallas is usually the least affected in our country in terms of recessions. Like you're glad you're not in Philadelphia right now, right? Or California or Miami or whatever the case is. So you're going to be fine in Dallas. I would say this is the moment right now where you need to reach out to your entire sphere of influence. You need to say, look, we know that there's a ton of people in forbearance not paying their mortgage. If you know anyone we can help, we have a no cost refinance that we can help you refinance that home, get out of that situation, buy yourself 45 days of no payments, et cetera, before those loans come due. Or now might be the time. There's likely equity in every house in Dallas right now. The market is on fire. It's not true of every market, although it's almost all of them. So now might be the time that you list your house. So this, as Chris was alluding to, the next 6 months is the time we've got to be so engaged with our clients and on top of this. And most people don't readily tell you out loud, I'm not making my mortgage payments, right? You got to do a little digging. You got to be human. You have to explain. We have special programs for anybody who's in trouble. And I think it's a huge opportunity for us to help people. And if we do the right things, 2021 is going to be the best year ever.
Awesome. Wow. And you didn't go all the way till 1. You like kept that.
I could. I'm fired up about this.
Yeah. What about you, John? Do you have anything to add to that? Any predictions or any feelings on where we're going?
Well, you know, Marc's awesome at doing all that stuff. So I said, what could I do to add to that? And I wrote down 2 things. I wrote, you can only control what you can control, right? So we can't control the election. We can't control the pandemics. Things are going to play out like they do. So I think what we do control is what we do, right? And how we behave and how we show up and what time we wake up in the morning, what time we go to bed, what activities we do, how purposeful we are. Those are the things. I don't care if it's leaders at Keller Williams International, if it's a new agent starting, that part, right? We're in control of what we do as an individual, right? And then the other thing I wrote down is, are you going to be in control of your own destiny or will someone else be, right? So if you do want to write the story, your story, like I did, right? I left the state police because I knew when I joined there, I knew exactly when I retired, how much I would make, what would happen, for the rest of my life, kind of what would happen in my life, unless, other things I do, but I know my journey. I knew what my journey looked like. Here, I can kind of create the path as I go, right? Oh, I want to do this. I want to grab that. I want to wealth build here. I want to invest here. I want to be a leader here. I want to do this, right? So that's the thing. Like, I want to control it. I don't want someone else to control it for me. So everyone on this call today can make a conscious decision that they're going to control their own destiny, right? No matter if you're a new agent or if you're the OP, right? What's that going to look like is really up to us. So I think just going back into the mindset, what we talk about in 6PP, personal perspective, like Julia said, if you don't know what that is, that mindset's going to be really important, especially no matter what happens in the elections, no matter what this pandemic does or how long it lasts till we get a vaccine. We are in control of our mind. And that's the thing we need to be in control of and really be purposeful what we do, how we do it, and how we think.
Hey, Sarah, I just want to add on to what John was saying, because I think it was really profound. Knowing where you're going and doing all those different things is great. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a GPS or a 411 and your 411's not on your calendar and you don't have actionable steps to get there, then you're not going to do it, right? It's kind of like what Julie was talking about, having an accountability partner, right? It's the same thing. So if you want to be in a leadership position or you want to net $1 million or whatever you want to do, there's a footprint for it. And you got to be able to write it down, follow it, and be consistent with it.
Yeah, that's been the big, change, since I've been working with Chris, as my coach, we get together every week and we set these goals. And so for anybody that's, at my market center, we have these tools available to you. We're happy to help you. Julia's, got these amazing accountability groups that she would love to add you to. Again, it's free. There's also coaching available. So we have lots of opportunities. So no matter what it is that we were talking about today, whether it be the 3 model system, if you want to know more about that and our plans, what direction we're going in, whether it's leadership opportunities, coaching opportunities, if you want to get involved with the social equity task force, whatever it is, we want to help you. So I want to thank all of our panelists today. Yeah, Mark, go for it. What?
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
I play way better than Chris does, Julia, just side note. But anyway, so just teasing.
I was going to call you, like, really? Yeah.
You guys just stop trying to steal Julia. She's mine.
I'm teasing. You guys are awesome. No, but for shameless plugs, we're doing Wealth Building Wednesdays every week. And this Wednesday, we're interviewing Dave Jinks, who's kind of the original Wealth Building Wednesdays. But it's all about profit share, building your wealth, thinking abundantly. Here's what I would challenge your entire market center, everybody on this call to do. There are so many people, so many agents in Dallas, Texas that need what we have, that don't have what we have. And I would challenge all of you to go grow your office, go build, because there is a massive abundance in this company, there's massive opportunities. And we still haven't seen the power. We passed out $1.4 billion in profit share in our history, and the next billion is going to happen in the next 3 years. So I would challenge you to think differently, invite people. Other real estate companies are not doing what you're doing. They're not getting leaders from around the country on a Zoom call with a local office, right? This is a special company. You're a special office and you're special leaders. And I'm just so happy to be here. And if I can help in any way at any time, please let me know.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal that you guys were able to all come together for me, because you are spread out across the country. And so, thank you, Chris, to help, for helping me set this up. And if anybody wants to learn more about profit share and what Mark's talking about, again, we've got the Wealth Building Wednesdays that I will share information on to all of our wonderful, wonderful associates. And then Julia is also going to be teaching a class here at our market center. We're in October, we're putting it on the calendar so that we're going to be talking about disappearing cats. Yeah, I was like, wink, wink, you're doing that, right? Yeah, it's totally happening.
But profit share is my favorite thing to talk about. Yes,
Julia is a profit share queen. So, and we will also be talking about disappearing cat in our market center as well. So lots of opportunities. And I want to thank you guys all. Again, this has been a fantastic mastermind. I feel so honored that you all decided to join us today. And just thank you so much and have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.